think all hospitals should be meat free? 0207 862 2222. That's the number. Please do give us a ring, because research out today says that if the NHS only served vegetarian meals, it could save £74 million a year. And of course, that money could go straight back into the NHS, which is widely reported to be struggling financially. But when it comes to hospital food, do you really feel that you should be given a choice? Gosh, the choice is often that you'd rather not eat hospital food, in my experience, but I don't know. Ava, if you were in a hospital, I hope you never do have to go in, but if you did and they said it's all vegan, it's all veggie, how would you feel?
I don't think that you even need to tell people that it's all vegetarian. I think the sort of meat that you're getting in a hospital, I'm so sorry, it doesn't have any protein in it. It's not going to be particularly good for you. It's not going to be high quality meat. If you just gave someone a lasagna that was vegetarian, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't even notice. So I'm very pro the idea.
They might be looking for their bacon for breakfast. They might be looking for
You shouldn't be eating bacon for breakfast. It's terrible for you, especially not if you're in hospital. I mean, it's a carcinogenic.
And all the people who are in hospital thinking, I'm in hospital, I need something to cheer me up. A bacon bap's exactly what I want. Or I'd love some chicken for my lunch, a chicken salad. Or, you know, I'd like some meat because I like meat and I'm not well and I want something that I enjoy.
Well, I think that's the problem that we have. Our attitude towards food in this country is terrible. The sort of food that we are eating is unhealthy. And if you look at the level of obesity or heart disease that we have in this country, clogged arteries, all sorts, it's coming from the sort of food that we're putting into our bodies. Things like bacon for breakfast, you absolutely shouldn't be eating it. So hospitals
Chris says you shouldn't be eating it, but are you eating it?
I think that this is nonsense, I'm afraid. I think that this is completely ridiculous. I do approve of a choice. I do think that now and then there should be vegetarian, good quality vegetarian meals served in hospitals. But the solution to this is not to save this £74 billion. It's to make savings elsewhere so that we can perhaps serve meat a little less often in hospitals, but get better quality meat. Yes. If we're serving rubbish meat, the solution is not to take meat off the menu. The solution is to serve better meat. Have lean bacon medallions rather than that fatty bacon.
But when you say we should have a choice, are you not confusing the words hospital and hotel? Why should you have a choice? You know, you've just got to be fed. That's absolutely right. Food must be palatable and nourishing, ideally, and delicious would be great. But who says you're entitled to a choice?
Don't misunderstand me. I don't think it's like being in sort of business class on an airline. I'll have, you know, the chicken curry or I'll have, you know, like the vegetable lasagna. Yeah. But I think the choice should come from the service that day, as in one day it's going to be a vegetable lasagna. I mean, there might be other vegetarian dishes. I keep referring to vegetable lasagnas, vegetable curry. But the next day it's going to be chicken. The next day, omega-3 in fish is amazing if you're not very well. You know, a lean piece of chicken with the salad, amazing. But you don't have to have that every single day. Better quality,
well, of course,
less often.
We're desperate to know what you think about this. We're taking your calls after the break. First of all, it's time for your calls on whether all NHS hospitals should be meat-free and only serve vegetarian meals. Kerry from the Scottish Highlands is on the line. Kerry, hi there. What do you think?
I'm a nurse in a hospital in the Scottish Highlands, and our menus offer vegetarian, vegan, or meat, but you need protein and good protein, and that's meat, to heal well. We find that the patients that take the meat options are away and discharged quicker than the ones who are on the... I don't really care if she doesn't buy it because I see it.
Not true. It actually just...
She works in a hospital.
You can't say that she's not telling
you. I don't know that. I don't know if she does. I mean, there's much more protein in vegetables, in beans, in that sort of thing than there is in cheap meat. There just simply is. An animal...
It's not cheap meat that they use, though, up here.
Maybe it's a posh hospital.
It's not cheap meat. It's not cheap meat. It's maybe the hospital that you've experienced. I don't know. Up here, we don't use cheap meat. It's good meat. It's overseen by dietitians. All the menus are overseen by dietitians. And we do see an increase in patients leaving healed when they've had proper meat protein.
May I ask you, Kerry, do you
do
ever suggest to patients, listen, we recommend you don't have the vegetarian or the vegan choice because, you know, we need you to heal up nice and quickly. And the
No,
best thing
we don't do that.
You don't?
We do not try to influence patients at all.
Uh-huh.
There's a woman that goes around with an iPad with the menu options on there, and you can choose from the main menu, which will always have a meat option, or you can choose from vegetarian, or you can choose from vegan.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask you, Kerry, why is it, being a nurse, why is the meat option better for their recovery?
It's just, I honestly, I couldn't tell you. I've not done the research, but we just see patients that take the meat leave and heal quicker because they're getting the proper protein.
That's absolutely fascinating. I've never heard anyone put it that way, and I'm fascinated by it. Kerry, thank you very much indeed for calling. Let's talk to Gina in West Yorkshire. What do you think, Gina? Should hospitals save money, £74 million, by serving only vegetarian or vegan food?
Well, Kerry's covered part of what I was actually going to say, that you could save a lot of money by not serving meat. You wouldn't have to cater for halal and kosher patients. But the protein is very important. But you could get protein, as the panelist said, from pulses and things like that, and also eggs and fish.
I don't think
you could be very healthy on that.
Fish qualifies as vegetarian. I don't think you could have fish on the menu, but eggs you could very probably have, but obviously not for vegans.
I mean, obviously, you could give a choice to somebody whether they were not to choose fish or eggs, but they could be a substitute for the meat-eating patients. You know, but I mean, things like bacon and stuff like that are carcinogenic anyway. So, you know, bacon and sausages may be very tasty and nice, but they're not particularly good for you.
Right, so you don't think they have any place on a hospital menu. Thank you, Gina, for calling. Let's talk to John in Somerset. Hi, John. I don't know whether you've ever had the misfortune to be ill enough to be in hospital and what the food was like when you were there, but thank you so much for ringing.
I have been a patient, but I actually worked for the NHS. I'm still working on the bank. I'm semi-retired now, but I've worked for the NHS for 45 years. And part of that time I was a chef in the NHS. And in my latter years, I was catering manager, and then I joined the dietitians and as a catering liaison manager. So I work with the dietitians.
Well, you're my ideal caller. You're the best possible caller to the programme we could have, because Ava's been very disparaging about the quality of the meat, saying it's got no protein content at all and it's just such rubbish. Nobody should be eating it anyway. And I wonder whether you're going to set her right about that, John.
I'd like to. I mean, I'm not going to sort of get in an argument about it, but our dietitians are obviously university trained. They do a lot of years in training, and they ensure that we have the best food in the NHS. It doesn't get past the dietitians until they're happy with the nutritional content. I used to prepare the menus, and I have to go through it to make sure that there is the right amount of protein, and not just protein, carbohydrates, and all the nutrients that were needed. And if anybody was on a special diet, then it was adapted to that special needs for whatever treatment they needed.
So, John, what do you think of the concept of saving money by making it purely vegetarian / vegan and just eliminating the meat budget and the fish budget, no chicken, no nothing except veggies? Would that be possible? Would it be desirable? It certainly sounds economical anyway.
It would be possible, and we did look at it a few years ago. I only retired 3 years ago when I was 60, but I'm semi-retired. I still work on the bank, so I still do some work for them. And if we want help with the menus, my manager calls me up and said, "John, would you come in and help with the menu?" So I still do that. Right. I mean, it's all about choice. You know, you can't force people that have eaten meat for years, particularly elderly patients. They're used to the home comfort foods. And in actual fact, things that weren't particularly good for these patients, if they're end-of-life care, does it really matter what they're eating in hospital as long as they enjoy it and get the sustenance for it. If they're not going to eat it, they're not going to get better.
John, because you're the expert on this, and I'm so glad to hear from you, what are the dishes that really people in hospital think, oh, yes, I actually do fancy this, even though I'm not really very well and a bit off my food. This is the thing that will put a smile back on my face and build me back better. What are the recipes that really go over well, do you find?
I used to find that comfort food was what people wanted, you know, particularly in the elderly generation. They like their cottage pies, they like their shepherd's pies, they like their fish and chips on a Friday. It was traditional. They like the roast dinners. I had one gentleman that I went to see on the ward one day, and he said, I only really eat roast dinners. You know, my wife used to do lovely roast dinners. And I said, that's fine. We can arrange for you to have a roast dinner on many of the days if you want them. We had a choice of lamb, we had a choice of beef, chicken, gammon. You know, and it was good quality meat. We used the best quality that we could afford. Hospitals get different budgets, okay? Our budget in the Southwest, I think at the time, 4 years ago, was about £14 per day per patient. That include 3 meals a day, all the drinks, all the snacks in between, because snacks in between are important as well. Because if you've got an elderly person that doesn't want a full meal, it's better that they have a piece of cake with a cup of tea, or they have a yogurt, or they have some fruit. Yeah. So we provided as much as we could for the patients. And to say that, you know, the food is hardly any protein, you don't know what you're talking about. Look at the menus.
John, thank you very much indeed. So these people are having delicious lamb, delicious beef, no turkey Twizzlers, Ava, none of that.
Well, this must be a very different hospital to the ones that I visited in London with several family members, because the sort of food that was being dished out there, I don't think a dietitian had ever seen it. But I would genuinely agree with John that when someone is sick, it's much better that they eat something than nothing. And, you know,
and something they like,
even a piece
something
of
they
cake,
enjoy.
You're so right.
Absolutely. Let's talk to Valerie in Surrey. Hi, Valerie. Or are you in Shropshire? I'm not sure. Hello there, anyway.
Hello, Surrey.
Surrey. Hello, Valerie in Surrey. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great. What do you think about veggie-only food being served in hospitals? Is it a good idea?
That's fine, as far as I'm concerned. But as we're in such economic problems, what is wrong with, if you go away to B&B or you eat at home or whatever, you pay for it. Why not charge? Then there wouldn't be a problem. Or if someone's a vegetarian, if someone wants meat, why not let their family bring them in something?
Well, that assumes they have a family. There are lots of people in hospital without people to come and bring them in food. That's one of the reasons why it's so important, isn't it?
That's something different. Then they must have friends, or if not, then they're in a different situation. But I'm talking about generally. Most people, you know, could afford to pay for the hospitality side. You're there to be treated.
I mean,
if you can't afford to pay, what are you going to do? Go hungry? I mean, I think that's a slightly absurd idea, I'm afraid to say, because
that's fine.
Sorry, but I just think that the idea that you get this two-tier system, that you can pay for your meal and maybe you'll get a bit of meat that will make you get better quicker, but if you can't afford to pay, you don't. I don't think that's very fair.
I think they always talk, whenever they suggest paying for hospital food, they say that the cost of collecting the money and all of that would be so administratively prohibitive, it's better not to, but I don't know whether that's still the case or not. Valerie, thank you for the idea. Let's talk to another Valerie who's in Shropshire. Hi, Valerie.
Oh, hi. Well, I'd be quite glad to have a vegetarian meal. In fact, I'd like to have some vegetables at all if I go into hospital. When I was in hospital 2 years ago, the food was brought in from outside, so it was processed, microwavable. The vegetables were very little, and they looked to me like tin peas and carrots, but no sign of any salad whatsoever. Never saw a tomato, no eggs. I couldn't eat the food at all, hardly. I ate their fruit, which was banana, orange and apple, and their yoghurt. I mean, breakfast was just toast or cereal, and they were huge as well. Hugely. I didn't see any nutritional value in them at all.
Right, that's exactly
so I'd be quite glad to have vegetarian.
Yeah. And
if it was proper vegetables.
confirms absolutely what you said.
It did look like microwave meals, everything that I've seen.
Yes, yes. And I suppose there must be a huge variation, because some of the food sounds positively delicious and some of it so horrible that you wouldn't want to eat it even if you're already a peak of health. Christo?
And I think we've also just got to move away from this idea of meat guilt. I'm so sick of meat guilt. Can we not just eat some meat now and then, if we do so in a responsible way, rather than this sort of, you either have it or we ban it everywhere? I think that's ridiculous.
Oh, I don't mind. I'm not saying you should feel guilty for eating meat. It's not a moral issue or a moral standpoint that I'm making. I just, it is a lot healthier to eat vegetarian. You have to put a lot more thought into what you're making. There's a lot more protein in pulses, and we've got a real problem.
There's not more protein in pulses. You can get protein from pulses.
Let us move on. We're going to be stuck with breakfast and we'll never move on.